Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. How are you? I hope you'd be fine. I'm here with the chapter number 7, Home Sweet Home, story about a small family living in a small house. It's an amazing story with a very beautiful lesson that we are going to get at the end of the story. So let's begin the story. I'm going to discuss words meaning in the middle of the story, and I'm going to discuss the question and answers that are given at the end of the chapter while reading the story. Okay, so take out your books, or even if you are not a student but you like stories, you will definitely like it. So watch it till the end. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new, and like the video, share it with your friends. Let's begin with the word meanings that are given over here. Accompaniment, music that is played with someone who is playing the main tune. It's basically the support staff in a band, in a music band. Adorned, decorated, beautified. Aghast, struck by horror and amazement. When you get stuck by horror. Ambled, strolled, walked slowly. Disbelievingly, in a manner suggesting a refusal to believe. When you are in a state of mind that it is difficult for you to believe, is called disbelievingly. Emerged, came out of, came into view, something that come to light. Embers, small pieces of glowing wood or coal in a dying fire. Students, if you would have observed that if we put a wood or coal in fire, after a few minutes, after a few seconds, you would observe that the coal or wood pieces, it starts turning into glowing reddish color. That is called embers. Forlornly, sadly, wretchedly, and desperately. Irritable, easily irritated or annoyed. Jangling, a harsh metallic sound, something that your ear doesn't like. Jovially, marked by hearty good cheer, cheerfully, something that you enjoys, something that is making you happy. Muffle, to stifle, to deaden, to destroy something. Percussion, a section of an orchestra consisting of instruments that can be struck, such as drums, tambourines. It's basically a band, a musical band. Scuttled, ran hurriedly, scurried. Snorting, making a sound by forcing air through the nostrils quickly. Snorting and snoring are basically synonyms in the way that you are taking a sound out of your ears by making some air, by breathing out some air. And basically snoring is something that we do while sleeping, and we are not even aware of it. And sometimes when our breathing system is not working properly, then we used to snore. And snorting means making the same sound while you are asleep, while you are awake. Tambourine, a musical instrument consisting of a drum head and a small metal disc fixed in the sides. It's basically a musical instrument. Turmoil means confusion in a state of upheaval, when you are confused. Now let's begin this story. Anton, Lona, Jenko shouted angrily to his son and daughter. Stop beating that drum and clanging that tambourine. Put them away in your cupboard immediately, and put away those other toys too, before I trip over them. The children looked gloomy. However, they stopped the music and carried the instruments to their cupboard in the corner of the room. Jenko had been trying to read the newspaper, and the noise of the 9-year-old son's drumming and his 7-year-old daughter's accompaniment on the tambourine had given him a headache and made him irritable. So this was a story of a very little family. As you can see here, this is dad, and he has 2 children named Anton and Lona. She is the mother of those children, and it's the small house of them. Basically, what is happening here, the father is trying to read this newspaper, and while he was trying to do that, the children were playing with their musical instruments. This sister is accompaniment, that is, she's accompanying, she's supporting his music, but he is getting angry because he is unable to read the newspaper. And now we are going to deal with this mother. Let's see what she does or what she do after hearing this conversation. तो होता ये है बच्चों कि ये एक स्टोरी है. तो बच्चे हैं और उनके पेरेंट्स हैं, छोटा सा घर है और बच्चे म्यूजिक बजा रहे हैं और वो खेल रहे हैं जैसा कि छोटे बच्चे खेलते हैं. एक 9 साल का बच्चा है और उसकी बहन सिर्फ 7 इयर्स की है. वालिद जो है वो न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, मगर वो इस म्यूजिक की वजह से काफी परेशान हो रहे हैं, डिस्ट्रैक्ट हो रहे हैं और वो पढ़ नहीं पा रहे हैं, जिसकी वजह से वो काफी इरिटेट हो जाते हैं, काफी गुस्से में आ जाते हैं और झुंझुला जाते हैं. तो वो बच्चों को फौरन कहते हैं कि बंद करो अपना ये म्यूजिक और जाकर चुपचाप होके बैठ जाओ. तो बच्चे डर जाते हैं, सहम जाते हैं और वो अपना म्यूजिकल इंस्ट्रूमेंट सारा कबर्ड के अंदर रख देते हैं. Let's see what happened next. Although the drumming and jangling had stopped, Anton and Lona being obedient children, the throbbing in Jenko's temples continued. It felt as if the percussion section of a large orchestra still played at its loudest in his head. यहाँ पे हमें बताने की कोशिश करें कि बेचारे बच्चों ने फर्माबरदारी करते हुए रख दिए म्यूजिकल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स. स्टिल जो उनके फादर हैं अभी तक जो है वो ऐसा लग रहा है कि उनकी जो आईज के कॉर्नर्स हैं उनके अंदर दर्द हो रहा है और उनके सर जो है वो ड्रम की बीटिंग से फट रहा है. Jenko's wife Monica emerged from the kitchen. That is, she came out of the kitchen and entered the living room. Monica was small, but the kitchen was too small. Kitchen too was small. That is, if she was small, the kitchen was small too. Or sorry, if the kitchen was small, the cook was also small, not much larger than a cupboard. Here they are telling us that the kitchen was just like a cupboard. It was that small. She felt she needed a bit of fresh air. She had heard the shouting and had now come to see what was going on. Where else are they to play? She challenged Jenko. She questioned Jenko the father that where else are they to play? Is there any other place they can go and play? Anywhere but in my ear, replied Jenko. I have a headache. So this was the reply of Jenko, that I don't know. Wherever they want to play, just go there and play. I don't know the place, but they are not allowed to play here in front of me because it gives me a headache. We have to learn to share the space we have, said Monica. How do you think they feel when you keep them up all night with your snoring? This time, Monica was justifying her question that if you are stopping them not to play here, so you should remember that when it's night and you are snoring, you are making noise and you are making them to wake up because of your snoring, because of the noise that you make, you should be a little patient too, and you should learn how to share this space with others. I wouldn't know about that, said Jenko, snorting. I'm asleep at night, so how would I know that what my snoring sounds like? Here he was quite perplexed, he was quite surprised, and he had no answer, so he said that how could I know that I'm snoring and what sort of sounds I'm making? I am asleep. How would I know? Because when a person is asleep, how would he know that what sounds he's making? Well, I can tell you, replied Monica, like a buffalo running through here. The children tried to muffle their giggles. I can see you and hear you very well, said Jenko, looking at them out of the corner of his eyes. So this was the conversation going on between the parents, and when mother said that I can tell you that how you're snoring seems like it's like a buffalo is running through here. It's that much disgusting when you snore at night. So this made the children giggle, and they started to take their teeth out, and they were happy to see that Monica was on their side. The giggling stopped abruptly because the father looked at them angrily and then started again when their mother winked Wink means she closed one of her eye. She seemed to be on their side. So she was taking their side. Okay, students, let's discuss some of the word meanings over here. Clang means sounding loudly, something making a loud sound. Trip over, to fell down, to slip on something. Gloomy, downhearted, getting saddened. Accompaniment, to support. Jangling, noisy sound. Throbbing, hurting, achy. Percussion, crash, bang. Orchestra, band, a group of musicians. Emerged means appear, to came out. Snoring means breathe heavily while sleeping. Snorting means to inhale through nose. So these are sort of synonyms. Muffle, to cover up, to hide something. Giggle means to half suppressed. Laugh, to laugh in such a way that the voice remains in your mouth but your teeth are little bit shorn. Abruptly, immediately. Wink means to close one eye for a moment. Achha, there is a difference between blink and wink. Wink means to close one eye for a millisecond, and blink means to close both of your eyes for a moment. Okay? So it's a difference. Deck means a pack. Shuffle means to mix up. Chirp means to, it's a short, sharp, high-pitched sound as the sparrows or other birds make a chirping sound in the early morning at the dawn time. Aloft means upwards, high. Slammed means to shut, close with a bang, to shut the door with a bang, making a loud noise. Ambled means drift, to move forward, to move towards something. Muttered means speak slowly with lips, to say something so that the person very close can only hear. Temples means the corner of your eye. These are the temples. Okay, now open page number 76. Let's discuss some of the question answers also that are given in exercise A comprehension. Question number 1, part A says, what were the children doing in the house? Okay, so the answer is very simple. You just have to mention what were the children doing exactly. Okay, and the answer will start as the children were, right? You have to focus on the tense they have used. It's past tense, so you'll answer in the same tense, that is the children were playing their musical instruments in the house. As you can see that father asked them to stop beating that drum and clanging that tambourine. So these are basically the musical instruments they were playing with. So you'll write the answer simply, the children were playing their musical instruments in the house. Now part B. What were Monica and Jenko, their parents, doing at this time? Now we have to tell what their parents were doing at this time when they were playing their instruments. So again, we are going to start the answer in the same way. First, we are going to mention what Monica was doing, and then we are going to tell what Jenko was doing, right? Because first the name of Monica is given over here. So we are going to write the answer as Monica was in the small kitchen and Jenko had been trying to read the newspaper, right? This is the answer. Monica was in the kitchen and Jenko had been trying to read the newspaper. Now part number C. What effect did the children's music have on Jenko? What effect did children's music put on Jenko? So we are going to write the answer as the children's music had given him, means Jenko, a headache and made him irritable, right? I repeat, the children's music had given Jenko a headache and made him irritable. This is the answer on page number 72. Now part D says, in what ways did Monica show that she was on the side of the children? In what ways? There must be more than one, right? So we have to mention the number, all the ways that Monica had shown that she was on the side of the children, right? So we are going to write the answer as Monica showed, right? We are going to write the second form of show because of this did. We are going to write the answer as Monica showed that she was on the side of the children by winking at them, and by making a joke, right? As she made it here. So you are going to write the answer as by winking at them and by making a joke. Next is part E. What made the children giggle? What made the children giggle? As you can see here, that children started to giggle when Monica told Jenko that you snore like a buffalo running through here. So she made a description about Jenko's snoring, that how it looked like. So we are going to write the answer as Monica's description of Jenko's snoring made the children giggle. This is the answer to part number E. Now we are going to read the remaining part from page number 73. Monica shook her head, smiled at the children and returned to the kitchen. This time she returned to the kitchen because she had done her job. Anton took out his deck of cards, that is his pack of cards, and seating himself at the dining table began to shuffle them noisily. That is, he started to play with his card, and Lona found her rag doll and began to talk to it on the floor. This time they started to play with other toys, and this time the toys were of the sort that they could not make such noise as it was making with the musical instruments. Choo! What you been do in these days? She chirped, holding the doll aloft. She was playing with her doll. Jenko sighed and opened his newspaper again. After a few moments, he threw it aside, rose from his chair, and made for the front door. That is, he was still irritable and he was still very much panicked and very much annoyed. And he just closed the newspaper, put it aside, and he started to walk towards the front door. That is, he decided to get out of the house. That's enough, he said loudly, opening the door. Monica, I'm going to see wise Eva in the village. Perhaps she can help me with my problem. I'll be back for dinner. Let's see. That's enough, he said loudly. Before Monica could come out of the kitchen or reply, Jenko had stepped outside and slammed the door. Even before Monica could answer to what he said, he just left the house. He slammed the door. That is, he shut the door, making a noise. Jenko ambled towards the village. He was stepping towards the village, muttering, massaging his temples and kicking stones as he went. So he was very much confused. He was muttering, that is, he was speaking to himself, massaging his temples. He was rubbing his eyes and kicking stones as he went. These are some of the things that we used to do when we are very much confused and we are not getting to what to do next. Soon Jenko arrived at a pretty cottage, a small house adorned with purple and orange bougainvillea. He straightened his jacket, then knocked on the door. He straightened his clothes and then knocked the door. He has arrived to Eva's place. Eva was small like his wife, as the author told us before also, that his wife was small but the kitchen was small too. So similarly, Eva was small too but much older. So this was the difference between his wife and Eva, that Eva was older. Her white hair, parted in the middle and flowing over her shoulders, made her look like a witch. So this was her physical appearance. The author is telling us about Eva, that how she looked like. All she needed was a cloak. Cloak means a mask, a shawl, or an outfit that is for witches, right? So, and a broom to complete the picture. So the author is trying to mock here Eva, that she just looked like a witch, but the broom was missing over there. She now appeared smiling in the doorway. Eva opened the door very warm-heartedly. Let's see what happened next. Come in, Janko, she said jovially, opening the door wider. What a pleasant surprise. Good evening, Eva, mumbled Janko forlornly. It's been a long while. Yes, a long time indeed, agreed Eva, showing him to an armchair in her cozy living room. Did you sort out of the problem with your vegetable patch? Yes, replied Janko. Thanks to your advice, the birds have stayed well clear of the garden ever since. Good, said Eva with a kind smile. And what can I do for you today? Your expression tells me there is something on your mind, Jenko. Well, there is, Eva, sighed Jenko, gazing at the embers in the fire. I'm not a wealthy man, Eva. I have barely enough to feed my family. However, I simply can't go on like this. Go on like what? Asked Eva, settling down. My house is too small, cried Jenko. The lack of space is driving me mad. The children are noisy. My wife snores at night. When carts rumble past on the road, the crockery rattles. How I long for some space and some peace. Well, I never, exclaimed Eva. You have a lovely house. Yes, agreed Janko. It's nice, but I wish it were bigger and quieter like Mikhail's mansion down the road. But I could never afford a house like his in a million years. Mikhail's house is large, I must admit, agreed Eva, but you should be happy where you are. What can you do for me, Eva? Asked Jenko. How can you make my life better? I'm not happy. Eva gazed silently at the fire for a while before turning to face Jenko. You must do exactly as I say, she said. Do you agree? Sure, said Jenko, hope rising in his eyes. Without question, asked Eva. Yes, without question, replied Jenko. Well, then, said Eva, if I remember correctly, you keep a cow and several other animals in the small barn at the bottom of the garden? That's right, said Jenko, looking a little astonished. Well, said Eva, I want you to go straight home and move them all into your house. Jenko stared at her disbelievingly, but he stuttered. He started to stutter. Stutter means to have problem while speaking. So this was the conversation between Eva and Mr. Jenko. First, she welcomed him very warmly, and then they started their conversation. Eva asked about the last problem from Jenko, and then they moved on. Now Jenko told her that he was in a problem, and the problem was he had a small house, and he has no peace in the house. He has a very little space in the house, and so he has a lot of problems facing because of it. So Eva, while thinking a bit, she had an idea in her mind, and she asked Jenko to do as she asked her to, without any questions. Jenko said, okay, fine, I'll do as you direct me, without questioning. And then Eva went on, and she said that you have to get your animals that you have in the barn, in the corner of a farm you have to bring them to your house, and you will not ask me a single question this time. So let's see what happened next. No buts, no nothing, said Eva abruptly. This time, immediately Eva said that you promise me that you'll not question me anything and you'll do exactly what I say. You promise, now go. Jenko rose slowly. He said nothing further, but nodded his head and left the cottage. Monica, Anton and Lona were most surprised when Jenko told them on his return to wait a while before dinner and scuttled off to the barn. They stood and watched, aghast, as he brought into the little house first the geese, followed by the chickens, then the 2 goats, and finally the cow. They have to stay here with us, announced Jenko. Eva told me to do this. The children were amazed and excited to be sharing their home with the animals, but Monica thought her husband had left his senses somewhere on his walk. For some days the house was in turmoil. It was a nightmare. At night, Jenko's snoring was the least of their problems. Now they realized that the snoring that Jenko made at night was the least problem, was the smallest one. The problems they are facing Now, nobody got any sleep because of the constant noise and movement in the house of the animals. Now they were unable to sleep. None of them could be fine, and none of them could sleep at night any moment because of the noise the animals were making. Now, at Eva's house, Jenko held his head in his hands and wept. One morning after a particularly noisy and restless night, Jenko rubbed his eyes and announced, "I'm going to see Eva again." At Eva's house, Jenko held his head in his hands and wept. He started to cry in front of Eva. Why are you putting me through all this?" cried Jenko. "The whole family is upset with me. We cannot sleep and we fight all the time. The noise is deafening. Have you ever kept a cow, ducks and other animals in your room? It's hell, I tell you." Eva smiled. "Yes, it is hell," she said softly. "Well then, Jenko, now I want you to go straight home and move all the animals back to the barn. No birds, just do it." Jenko returned to his house and did as he was told. He, Monica, and the children spent the rest of the day cleaning up the mess made by the animals. After the house was back to normal, Jenko stretched out in his armchair. The children played noisily with their toys in one corner. Monica clackered pots and pans in the kitchen. "Ah," sighed Jenko, and thought to himself, "How nice it is, the sound of my wife and children in the background. Plenty of room to home, sweet home." The end of the story. I hope, students, you would have liked it very much, and I hope you would have learned the lesson that we get from this story. So what was the lesson that we get from this story? As you can see that Jenko's perception changed altogether. As he had earlier, he used to complain about the lack of space in his house and the noise that he used to bear. Now what he was saying, how nice it is, the sound of my wife. Now it was pleasing him, the sounds of his wife and children in the background. Plenty of room. See, the thinking has changed. Earlier he was saying, there's no space in my house. It's a very small house. And now he's saying, plenty of room. And now the home has turned into sweet home. So you see, we get a lesson that we should be happy and we should be thankful for what blessings we have. This way, we can enjoy what we have, and at the same time, we could be having a peaceful life, and this way our blessings increases. Let's discuss rest of the questions. How had wise Eva helped Jenko before? So they are asking the question that how Eva helped Jenko before. Not this time, but before. So you are going to write the answer from page number 74. Wise Eva helped Jenko before by giving him advice about how to keep the birds out of his garden, right? This was the advice given by wise Eva to Jenko earlier, right? Parji says, what did Eva look like? Give a full description of her. Now we have to provide a character sketch of wise Eva. Complete answer is on page number 73. Eva was small like his wife but much older. Her white hair parted in the middle and flowing over her shoulders made her look a little like a witch. All she needed was a clock and a broom to complete the picture. This is the complete answer, right? Padet says, did Jenko tell Eva a lie about his wife? What was it? Did Jenko tell Eva a lie about his wife? Yes. Jenko told Eva a lie about his wife. What was it? He said his wife snores at night. It was a lie because it was him who snores at night, not his wife. So what was the lie that he told Eva? He told Eva that his wife snores at night. So you are going to write the answer as Jenko told Eva a lie about his wife. Yes, Jenko told Eva a lie about his wife. He said that his wife snores, right? Now part I. How did Jenko feel after the animals were removed from the house? How did Jenko feel? You're going to write the answer from the question. Jenko felt good after the animals were removed from the house. Plus, he was able to appreciate his home and his family. This is the complete answer to part number I. Okay, students, I hope it's very much clear to you. Now move to question number 2. Here we have two reference to context. Let's see. Anywhere but in my ear. Who said these words? These are the words of Jenko. What questions is the speaker answering? What question is the speaker answering? What was the question? That it was the answer to it. So, the question was, where else are they to play? ठीक है, ये जब उसकी वाइफ ने, मोनिका ने कहा था कि बच्चे कहाँ जाकर खेलें, कोई और जगह है क्या उनके लिए, तभी जेंको ने क्या कहा था, एनीवेयर बट इन माई एयर, मुझे नहीं पता, कहीं भी जाके खेलें मगर मेरे कान में आवाज ना आए. तो ये जवाब था मोनिका के सवाल का कि वेयर एल्स आर दे टू प्ले. Then part 3 says, what noise is the speaker accused of making and when? What noise is the speaker accused of? So, what was the noise that he was accused of? It was snoring. And when did he used to make the noise? All night, right? So, he was accused of snoring all night. There comes part B. Your expression tells me there is something on your mind. Who is the speaker? It's wise Eva. And to whom are the words addressed? That is, who is the listener? It's Jenko. So the answer to part number 1 is wise Eva to Jenko. Number 2. What kind of expression did the person have? What kind of expression did Jenko have? So he looks forlorn. Part 3. What was on the person's mind? He wishes that he had a bigger house and a quieter house so that he could have some space and some peace in his house. It was the only wish of Jenko. So here the video ends. The chapter completes along with the question and answers and word meanings and explanation. I hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching the video. Take care. Allah Hafiz.